It's the Kyle Heimann Show on Redeemer Radio.
Talk to some of the sisters that are in philosophy classes, and like there is a difference between a human, like philosophically, there's a difference between a human being and a person.
It's time for Morning Jolt with Sister Ignatia Henneberry from the Sisters of St. Francis of Perpetual Adoration.
Wake up!
Welcome back to another episode of Morning Jolt with Sister Ignatia, this time out in public again.
Wow. Feels good.
We've been on the St. Anthony Day patio.
Right. I forgot we coined that name.
Uh-huh.
We have to get the sign engraved, but...
Yeah. Now we're back at the Forteza coffee shop downtown Fort Wayne. I went back to the mocha. It's been a while since I've had a mocha, and I got the cereal bowl of
well, you had been thinking about it for a couple days, you said, so I'm not sure.
I was getting geared up for this. This is large, though. But it's so pretty. I always feel bad.
Yeah, they do a nice job.
It's like the bubbles are all around the artwork, too.
You like add something? Yeah,
I think
texture?
So.
Yeah.
All right, I got to try this here. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're doing cortado.
Yes.
That's your go-to, isn't it?
It is. They just do a good job, you know?
Yeah. Well, our topic for today might be another series of topics, because I think you've mentioned several different things to talk about around the topic of abortion. So maybe before we get into a story that I'm excited to hear, why don't we kind of clarify some of the truths about abortion, and maybe just clarifying kind of church teaching. And I think some people have some issues with, but there are some exceptions. Maybe I'm pro-life, but some exceptions. So maybe we'll get into that as well.
Yeah. How we talk about it, I think. Yeah.
I think it's pretty well known, but maybe just to lay the groundwork, what is the church teaching of abortion?
That abortion, in any case, is an immoral action that, either fancy language about saying like terminating a pregnancy or anything like that goes against God's own gift of life, that he is the primary author of life, and taking away an innocent life is wrong and tragic in any case. I think in a lot of conversations there's a lot of like word acrobats that happen to like make it okay, and it's always the church's teaching to come back to like pregnancy equals a new life, and a new life can't be taken for any reason.
And we a lot of times talk about being pro-life from conception to natural death.
Right.
And maybe we can get into, that'd be a whole nother topic of the post-birth pro-life issues.
Yeah.
But we're talking about from conception. And to me, I think one of the easiest cells for me, cells with an S,
good one,
is at the time of conception, there's new DNA.
Yeah.
From the very first, I guess that would be cells with a C, when you've got, 46 chromosomes? How many chromosomes?
That is something I didn't look up before I came here.
It's a unique set of chromosomes that you get half from your dad, half from your mom, and that is a unique person in that cell, and that's going to grow up into an adult, hopefully, someday.
And it's interesting, like I think in like especially Catholic circles, we use words and we all know what it means, and then like you said, like there is a unique person there, but even talk to some of the sisters that are in philosophy classes, and like there is a difference between a human, like philosophically, there's a difference between a human being and a person. Okay. So it's just like one to me that's the same. Like, that there's a human being, but there's not like an individuation of personhood and like a unique personality that's already present, even in a nascent kind of state. So we as the church say that from conception there is a person, a new person present that deserves rights and dignity, and the personhood isn't something that like they can like live it out as they grow, but it's not something that's waiting to come about.
And a lot of times it gets characterized as a clump of cells or tissue. And the fact that it's its own set of DNA, to me, says, no, this is something different than a clump of cells would have the same DNA as the mom. But this is different. And whenever we say it's her body, it's her choice.
Right.
Well, it's actually two different bodies. There's actually, it's a second body in there.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't really matter where along the pregnancy it is. And because I think that's another thing they say, what's the moment of viability? Some people say, well, if the person, we recognize that this is, if a person could survive on his or her own outside the womb, then you shouldn't be able to have an abortion.
Yeah.
Which seems a little arbitrary because a 1-year-old can't survive on his own.
What do they have to be, 5?
Yeah. But for some reason, it becomes, and I think even as Catholics, we might think of this as more barbaric or more heinous the longer it gets. And so when you see a fully formed, like this is a baby, this is
looks
what,
like
this
a baby.
is what people give birth to, then now this is a problem.
Yeah.
But really, that's no different than it was 8 months earlier.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's, especially like in the pro-life movement, I think that's always what you have to come back to, that like, size has changed and like development has changed, but the same DNA is there. Nothing's been added besides nutrients. Like,
So then I guess this is where it kind of gets into the question of the exceptions. So even pro-life people will sometimes say, I'm pro-life, but there are exceptions to that. And I think that I can't go all in because of those. Care to comment? Yeah.
I forget the percentage of abortions that happen due to these cases. So like the classics are probably rape and incest. I think it's like a point something percentage. You can look that up. But it's seen as cruel to make a woman bring a child to term that one was conceived in an abusive way. So the ministry to that woman is terribly important. Like, of course. Like, I cannot imagine. Like, I think we all need to be real about that. Like, I cannot imagine being in that position. But regardless of the circumstances of conception, that doesn't change who that new child is and the dignity that that child deserves. None of us have a choice about how we've come into this world. And then the false promise that an abortion will make it better. And there's actually a woman in this diocese, I'm going to look up her name. She's written a book recently. She's come to University of St. Francis a couple times. I believe her experience of abortion was through an abusive sexual encounter. And she said, like, adding on top of the abuse and then adding the traumatic, harmful experience of an abortion on top of that is not doing the woman any good either. So if that's the argument, you're saying, like, it's the merciful thing to this woman to stop this horrible dream, that's just put an end to it so that she can move on, isn't true. Like, a woman isn't going to be able to just move on. There's going to be a lot of healing and pain in that process. It's kind of like the reverse of the argument when anyone in the pro-life movement says, like, well, see, like, that child could have been the next person to cure cancer or do something amazing. It was like, well, actually, we don't care what that child is going to do in their life at all. They could come to term and then not be able to maybe communicate or have an illness, chronic. Doesn't matter. That child still deserves to live and is going to bring a unique, beautiful ray of life to the world. So that's kind of like the opposite example of, like, it doesn't matter that this child exists. We need to end it because of how they came into the world. But please never go the route of saying, like, okay, no matter, even if this child was brought into rape, what if they were the next? Like, no, that doesn't matter.
It kind of gets into a utilitarian mindset of a person's value is based on how successful they're going to be, not that they are created in the image and likeness of God, and that is their value, which is infinite, by the way. And that's like the inarguable point. It's like, you have to keep going back to that. So
yeah, so all those cases sound merciful, and our like tragic experiences, the foundational truth doesn't change.
So your example was somebody who is abused and then traumatized by abortion. The other examples I've heard from speakers who were conceived themselves through rape, but their mother decided to give birth to them.
Yeah.
I don't know if then raised them or gave them up for adoption, but either way, they speak out and say, look, the circumstances of my conception were not good, right? That was not a good thing, but I am good.
Exactly.
Like, I still have dignity, and I'm here today because my mom chose life.
Yeah.
That's a powerful witness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who's to say that that person did not deserve to live?
Exactly. It's so powerful when they're up on stage and they say, so you mean to tell me that I shouldn't be here right now?
Right.
How can you say that? And they're not going at a utilitarian, like it's like the joy of life that they're experiencing.
Right.
Like, so grateful that I'm alive. Those stories are so powerful.
So any resources or things to check out for people that might be struggling with this, or like, oh, that was a good point, I'd like to look more into this?
Oh, yeah. So I would highly suggest looking up Ryan Scott Bomberger. His family, whose beautiful family, affectionately goes by the Bombs. So, but yeah, just like, I think he just like communicates. And if you're like on the fence of like, yeah, I agree that abortion is wrong, but in these cases, like, I think he can put like some words and like a face and a story to like, why the church teaches that.
Right. Well, I'm curious to hear your mom's story.
Yeah.
I understand you've gotten her permission to share it.
I do.
Okay. So we'll have to do that on the next episode of Morning Jolt.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much, Sister Ignatia.
Welcome. Thank you.
One of the best ways to support us is to share this podcast with your friends. We'd appreciate it. And until next time, remember to leave room for the Holy Spirit.